What is up? What is going on, everybody? I am back with the Mariners post-game recap. As I always say before I get started, you guys can do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're just watching. Helps out my channel a whole lot. And the like button just helps get these videos out to more people. Lets YouTube know you're enjoying it so other people might enjoy it as well. Oh, God. Mariners lose 7-5 to the Rays. Man, is there a lot to talk about. And I don't know if I'm just got some football fever for tomorrow, but I like really don't even want to talk about it. Just get this stupid, road trip over with and go back home and just wipe it all. Just honestly, can I go hibernate? Wake me up at the end of the season. Hopefully they're in the playoffs when this is all said and done. Like, oh my gosh, the Mariners lose 7-5 if I didn't already say that. I'm going to get into all of it. There was a lot of annoying things in this game, a lot of self-inflicted wounds, and just a lot of frustration right now. I'll talk a little big picture first. Super frustrating in this series is the fact that Mariners could easily be up 3-0 right now. I mean, I have won the first 3 games of the series. I'm talking like it's a playoff series, but they could have won the first 3 games of the series easily. Now, Tampa could come back and say the same thing. They could look and say, hey, we could have won game 1. Truth of the matter, if you're looking at it just analytically big picture, the Mariners have played a really good Rays team, about dead even for 3 games. That, in a vacuum, is not the end of the world. It's not. But we're in September. We couldn't pull out games against the Mets and the Reds, and you've had very winnable games here. You've had 2 games where you've had the lead going into the bottom of the 7th inning and could not hold those leads. That's the frustrating thing here. If you just want to look at it, Mariners, Rays, how have they played each other? Yeah, they're 2 good teams that play each other pretty even. That's about what you expect to do against good baseball teams. But you need that little boost. Toronto wins again today. Toronto's now even with you in that wild card race. You do have the tiebreaker, but they could pull ahead tomorrow. Texas is 2.5 games back, but you still got to play Texas 7 times. So if they can, even if Texas gets beat today by Oakland, which is asking a lot for Oakland to win that series, Texas could beat you 2 out of 3 in, 2 couple series, and they're back in front of you. That's all they need to do. You know what I mean? So you're letting opportunities to gain ground slip away. Season's not over. I'm not, again, I listen, guys, I'm not going to throw in a towel until the towel is ready to be thrown in. When this team gets eliminated, if they do, which I still don't think they will, I think they will get in. That's when I'll throw in the towel. So it's not over or anything like that. But man, it's frustrating because there's been 3 winnable games here, and it's been a trend on this road trip. Game 1 against the Mets, it was Senga threw it away. They should have won game 2 against the Reds. They should have won. They should at least have won maybe 2 of these games against Tampa out of 3 instead of 1. And yet here we are. The other frustrating thing here is, let's get into the game. A bullpen day for the Mariners. Going with Trent Thornton as the opener, Luke Weaver as the, what do they call it, the feature or the highlighted, whatever, the bulk pitcher against Aaron Savali, who's been really good this year. And you actually managed to get 4 runs off Savali early. I thought Trent Thornton did a nice job as the opener. I thought in the first inning that run wouldn't have scored if Canzone didn't bobble that ball, but he did. The run scores. Let's get into Luke Weaver a little bit. I did actually think Luke Weaver was terrible for what he was asked to do. Against a really good lineup, that's about what I would expect from Luke Weaver. 4 1/3, 4 runs. And I don't think he should have been out there in the 7th inning. You guys know I've defended Scott. And it's not one or the other for me. It's not defend Scott or think he's fired. I don't think he should be fired. But I thought he really mismanaged this game. I do not understand Luke Weaver going back out there for the 7th inning at all. The bullpen actually in pretty good shape for today. Topa, Spire, Munoz, Brash, Saucedo, your major 5, if you want to say, all available to pitch in this game. Well, Jay, they got to manage for the rest of the season. I get it. I'm not saying you go make Brash and Munoz throw 50 pitches each tonight. Not saying that. I saw some people comment that on Twitter. A couple people commented that to me on Twitter. You were 9 outs away from a win that feels like you got to get. You want to get either today or tomorrow. You got to get one of those. You were 9 outs away. You've got good arms in the bullpen. Let them try to get it. try to get this win. Who do you trust more? Munoz, Brash, Spire, Sauce, or Luke Weaver? And not just Luke Weaver coming in, but Luke Weaver at like 70 pitches. I'm trusting my big arms more in that spot. Yet they could have given up the lead. And that's why at the end of the day, like, do I blame it all on Scott? No, like the players have to execute. There's no guarantee. Spire came in and gave up, a go-ahead single. Like, it does happen. Those guys could have still given up the run, but it's a better chance. It's a better chance to win. And even if you blow through all of them, even if you go through Topa, Spire, Brash, Munoz, and you win it and they're all down for tomorrow, I can stomach a split here and get back home for the Angels. I can stomach that. Bryce Miller can maybe eat it a little bit tomorrow, and he'd still have Isaiah Campbell. And I'd imagine like you'd probably still have one of those guys. Like Topa's probably still available tomorrow, maybe Sauce as well. So you could have done that and still had some guys available for tomorrow. I think I meant to say Campbell and Topa and Sauce would be available tomorrow. So there's no reason to leave Luke Weaver out there. I'm sorry. Like, I know managing's not easy, and you guys know it. I've defended Scott. Like, I don't criticize every little move and think every little move is the end of the world, because they're not. There's a lot of things that happen over the course of 162. There's things that happen in May and June where you do have to prepare for later runs. This game in May, maybe fine. I get it. You might be like, listen, Matt Brash has been used more than any reliever in baseball. It's May 19th. I tried to get one more to Luke Weaver. I get it. But it's September. What is it actually? September 9th. September 9th. There's only, how many games are left? Excuse me. 79, 63, 20. There's 20 games left. Not suggesting Matt Brash should pitch all 20 games. But he had the day off yesterday. So did Munoz. Topa hadn't pitched since Cincy. Sauce hadn't pitched in forever. Get one of them in there. And then you go to Spire. So you leave in, let me go to the seventh inning here. You leave in Luke Weaver to face, let's see, bottom of the seventh. I just want to get it right. The lefty and Jonathan Aranda. Now, I know the Rays have a lot of bats. You got Yandy Diaz on the bench today. Was Harold Ramirez in the lineup? And you lost Paredes. Ramirez did end up pinch hitting. I'm not sure when I think he pinch hit in that inning, if I'm not mistaken. So he did, but they could have pinch hit him, but you've got Spire ready. And I'd still rather have Spire against those righties than Weaver against the lefties. Faces Aranda, gives up a leadoff double. Rene Pinto, fine. I'm not too mad about leaving him in to get Pinto righty on righty. Taylor Walls, lefty comes up. Even if you lose the platoon advantage, you at least waste some pinch hitters there if you go to somebody else. Taylor Walls singles. Then you go to Gabe Spire with runners on base, and now you do lose that platoon advantage big time because you got a runner at second. By the way, Julio's throw on the Taylor Walls single was terrible. He should not have thrown that home. Should have thrown it to cutoff man and keep Walls at first base. Then they go to Yandy Diaz against Spire. So now you do lose that platoon advantage. Instead of just going to Spire earlier in that inning, you lose it with men on base and Yandy Diaz doubles. Rosarina was intentionally walked, and then Harold Ramirez grounded into double play. So, and again, like you'd say, well, Spire didn't get the outs either necessarily. Spire gave up one hit. If he had come on the seventh, only gave one hit, they would have gotten out of the inning. You know what I mean? So that runner was put on base by Luke Weaver. Again, I actually didn't think Luke Weaver was that bad. I actually thought he did about as much as you can expect. I did not get it sending him out there for the seventh. I didn't even love sending him out there for the sixth, to be perfectly honest. But, I do get it a little bit there. But sending out for seventh, I didn't understand at all. And you end up having to go to Topa in the eighth anyways, and then Saucedo in the ninth. And I'm actually going to criticize Scott again in the ninth inning. Saucedo had already faced his minimum of 3. He walks Taylor Walls, which, my gosh, can they get Taylor Walls out on and on? I guess he's actually had a pretty rough series, but today they struggled against him. They walked Taylor Walls twice in crucial situations, and they did it in the 7th, and then they did it again in the 9th, and Yandy Diaz comes up again, pinch hitting, and hits the 2-run home run. I don't get there. Sauce had already faced 3. He faced, I think he got got Aranda and Pinto out. Go to a righty. Go to a righty to get Diaz. They have no more platoon stuff they can do. Why are you leaving Sauce in there? I know you can't burn through the entire bullpen in a short stint. I'm not as mad at that one as I am leaving Luke Weaver in, because I do think Saucedo's a pretty good reliever. But man, it feels like a good spot to go get Brash. Or honestly, leave Topa in. Topa pitched a really clean 8th inning. He threw how many pitches? 13, 11 strikes. He looked great. Maybe give him a shot at the 9th. I get it. He pitches the 9th. He's probably not available tomorrow. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts. I know I'm kind of all over the place with that, so I'm sorry. I can stomach leaving Saucedo in there, but even there, I feel like go get Brash or Munoz there and then see what happens in the 10th. Maybe you score some runs. And then at that point, if you're not scoring in extras, then you can just kind of leave a reliever in and just hope they get out of it. But at that point, I think you go and get Sauce. And I don't understand leaving Luke Weaver in at all. With that said, before everybody chimes in the comments and says, see, Scott needs to be fired, Scott needs to be fired. I do not think Scott needs to be fired. I think it was a bad game. I think it was some mismanagement, with a game where you're going with spot starters and going with openers. And I can certainly respect that's not an easy game to manage at all when you have that happening. And, Gabe Spire came in and gave up a hit. Saucedo's been pretty good. He gave up the home run. Players do have to execute. The offense scores 4 runs in 2 innings. Can't get another run until the 8th on a wild pitch. Hard to blame the offense, I know, when they score 5 runs. I know it's probably not fair. But, man, they could have added on a little bit. And then there's just sometimes baseball is baseball. Brian O'Keefe hits what looks to be his first major league home run, and it just bounces off the yellow fence and comes over. I thought Yandy Diaz walk-off home run was going to bounce off the fence as well. Now, that may have scored walls anyways with 2 outs, but I wasn't sure if that was going to get out. Sometimes, despite everything, despite all the criticisms, everything, baseball's still a game of inches sometimes. If O'Keefe gets out, the Mariners might win this baseball game today. But it didn't, and they didn't. Let's go over I'll go over the pitching. Like I said, Trent Thornton, I thought, threw the ball well in his 2 innings. Thought Luke Weaver did about what you'd expect. Spire was okay outside again of the double to Diaz. Topa was as good as he's looked in a while. That's good to see because you want Justin Topa looking a little bit more like with the Justin Topa we've seen all year coming down the stretch here. I thought Sauce was good until, he just missed that. I feel so bad for Sauce because he seems like such a cool dude. And he just missed that 3-2 to Taylor Walls. And then Yandy Diaz gets him on a ball that, it was hit hard. It was definitely a hard hit ball. But, man, it did not get out by much. Tough pitching for Sauce there. Offensively, JP 0 for 3 with the walk. Tough series here for JP. Julio 2 for 4 at the home run. Second game in a row. Third game of the series where they've just ruined kind of a solid Julio game. The 1 in Cincy and 2 in Tampa. Teo 0 for 3. His hit streak ends. Gino 0 for 3 with the walk. Canzone 0 for 1 with an RBI walk in the first. Haggerty was 1 for 2, pinched hit. Ty was 1 for 4, did get that 2-run single in the first, which was great, but golden opportunity 8th to take the lead. He couldn't come through. Tough game for Ford 0 for 3. Caballero 0 for 1. Rojas 1 for 2. Dylan Moore's been scuffling a bit. He pinched hit 0 for 2. Good for Brian O'Keefe, line drive double, and O'Keefe made a really nice defensive play on not a pickoff, but a ball that was in the dirt and threw out the runner. Listen, as much as I've criticized, it stinks that Tom Murphy has been hurt, Brian O'Keefe did about as good as you can do today. And then Cal 0 for 1. Win tomorrow. Got to find a way to win tomorrow. As ugly as this road trip has felt, and boy, has it felt bad. It's felt worse than 3-6. They're 3-6 right now in this road trip. Man, it's kind of felt 0-9-ish. It's just been a brutal road trip. And before anybody worries, Jay losing the optimism, I'm not. Listen, I still think when the dust settles, this team will be a playoff team. I do. And let's see what happens. If Houston loses tonight, they're still a half game out of the first place in the West. So everything is still right there for them. But man, it hurts because they could be up 3-0 in this series. And how good would it feel with this team being 81-61, having won the first 3 against the Rays? We would be so locked in right now. Instead, it's just now we're kind of begging for a win tomorrow, to salvage something here. It's just been really, really tough. Tough sledding for this team, unfortunately. And you didn't think you had much of a chance with the bullpen day, but they actually did. They had a chance to really win this game. So, and hopefully Oakland can find a way to beat Texas. I'll be honest, I'm not real concerned about Toronto passing you. I would like to keep Toronto out because you have that tiebreaker over them. That would be nice. But I actually not sure if I want the second wild card. I'd rather play Minnesota, but I also don't want to get in this thing where it's oh, let Toronto pass you, and then you're losing games because of that either. But not too bad. As long as Texas somehow keeps losing and Houston loses, then, you're okay. But golden opportunity here, and it's unfortunate that they have dropped these last two. So everything's still right there. You know what? They get a win tomorrow. I will stomach this road trip and say 4-6 could have been a lot worse. Find a way to win tomorrow. Just find a way. Does that mean it's over if they lose tomorrow? No, not at all. But man, you'd like to finish with this road trip with at least a little momentum. Much like I said with that Cincy series, getting on the plane, feeling good after the W. It would feel good if they can get that win tomorrow. You split a series with Tampa. That's honestly okay. Like, I have no problem with splitting a series in Tampa. This is where, to people's credits, that kind of called me out on it. Dropping those series to the Mets and the Reds hurts, because this series is probably not the worst thing ever. But when you put it on top of everything else, makes it frustrating. Want to address one more thing before I go: the George Kirby situation. George Kirby pregame said he apologized to Scott. Said that wasn't his mentality, how he means to be. And then it's over. And that's how I view it too. George Kirby is a kid. I was critical of him in my video. I do want to be very clear. I was critical of his comments. I don't so much care what the decision was. If Scott decided to pull him, fine. If leave him in, fine. It was the comments about not wanting to go back out after 90 pitches and making it public that a problem with. Kirby apologized, or at least mentioned an apology. Scott doesn't owe me an apology or anything. And that's fine. It's done, over, forget about it. I think Kirby's going to bounce back and be tremendous this year. I have no issues with George Kirby whatsoever. It is over and done. Mariners season's not over and done, but man, they need to get some W's. Hopefully they can get one tomorrow with Bryce Miller on the mound. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great night. My week 1 NFL picks are coming tonight. I will have them up. I will. And then tomorrow, 2 post-game recaps for you. We'll talk Mariners and we'll have a Seahawks post-game recap. So enjoy football season starting tomorrow, and hopefully a Mariners W is sprinkled in there to go along with it. Take care, everybody, and have a good night. Peace. Go Mariners.